what's the first step a company should take when it's building or redesigning a product?
I think that the first step a company should take is to know who its audience is. And not just so in the case of a redesign, you already probably have an audience. And not just understanding that audience that you already have, but understanding the audience that you want to target. So if you're going after a new market, you need to be able to build something that's going to work for them and that's going to meet their needs and going to meet their needs better than whatever they're doing now. So if you don't take the time to figure out what your audience needs and you launch a product, it kind of goes out and never comes back and no one goes there. So that would be the first thing.
So in addition to that, are there other planning steps that people just always seem to miss when they're developing out a product?
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the big ones, because what happens a lot of time is you get people in a room and they design it for themselves. They say, well, I want this and I want it to be simple and intuitive. And what they mean when they say that is simple and intuitive for me. And so you have the executives coming in and saying, well, I don't understand this and why would we do it this way? And if you don't have backup research to say, well, the reason we did it this way is because you want to target, let's say, millennials, and millennials respond this way, and you're a baby boomer, so you respond this other way. So even though it doesn't make sense to you, we've tested it and it works for these people. But if you don't have that background, you just have to change it for whatever works for whoever's in charge at the time. And that can be really detrimental or cause you to fail completely.
So audience understanding and research.
Yeah.
Okay. It sounds like a
big
good way
key
to go.
components that everybody thinks are optional.
Presumably the ones that people don't want to do either, right? They just
Yeah.
want to jump in and build a product
Absolutely. Or we already know.
Yeah.
That always comes up. Always. And I can't tell you the number of times we've decided we know something, and then we do a little bit of testing halfway through the project, and it turns out most of the things we thought we knew were entirely wrong. And so we have to go back and rework a lot of things in order to make it happen. Or things just flop.
Yeah.
So
how can an organization transition from launching a product to maintaining it? Does that require a significant change in mindset?
It requires some change in mindset. If you have a good process when you're launching your product, so you have to do the initial build out and then put together the launch plan and all that. If you have a good process for already collecting feedback and making minor updates as you go through the build process, so sort of having beta users and having specific tests and research in mind as you're going through, it's easy to take those pieces and transition them into maintaining your product. Because the best way to maintain your product, fix all the bugs as they come up and that sort of thing, but is to make incremental UI changes over time that make the experience better for someone. So you never get stuck having to do a huge project overhaul of your whole application because it's 2016 and the last time you updated your product in any significant way was 2001. And so now you're very out of date.
Sure.
So if you have that incremental process, it's very easy for you to keep up to date without ever seeming like you changed anything.
It would seem like that would also solve the problem of having to have separate launch and maintenance teams, right? Because you're incrementally improving as opposed to, all right, launch goes and focuses on launch, whereas maintenance focuses on maintenance. Everybody's working iteratively.
Yeah, I think it would, because a lot of the people on your launch team, you would want on your maintenance team, because maintenance is not just about fixing bugs anymore. It's about keeping the product improving and keeping with the future, because everything changes so quickly. What we're doing in 2016 is very different than what we were doing in 2015 and in 2014, and that's 2 years ago. So.
Right. Do most organizations go to external consultants for UX and design needs?
I think it's about 50-50. Everyone wants to have someone in-house, but they get someone in-house and they don't know what to do with them. I've actually been on both sides of this, actually at the same company. We started as external consultants, and then they made us an offer, and a bunch of us joined the company. And it was a very different experience. As external consultants, we didn't have a say in what projects we were involved in or anything like that. But whenever we said anything, they took us very seriously. As soon as we got in-house, they stopped taking us so seriously. We had our hands on a lot of things, and we knew all the people and could interact and knew more of what was going on, but we didn't get listened to as often. So there's a balance to be struck there. What we found is the most effective is when you have someone who's in-house and you bring in consultants to work with that person as a team. The consultants give clout to whatever that person is saying that they've been telling their team over and over and over. And then they can fill in the gaps. Because when you have someone in-house, usually it's just one person, and they're expected to know and be able to do the job of about 5 to 7 different people. It's called the UX unicorn. It's a myth and all that. So. So.
So last question for you.
Yeah.
What people or projects are you following these days?
So I think one that's really important is the Center for Civic Design. So they've actually been working over the past, I think, 3 or 4 years now to improve the voting process by understanding how people understand it, understand how people read ballots, and how they would better read ballots. So they've done a lot of in the field research, going even door to door and finding out how voters vote and who they think they voted for versus who actually won. And there's a lot of discrepancy there because people don't always understand how the ballot works. And so they've made a field guide. They've been working with states to improve the ballot system and making it more user accessible so that people can actually vote for who they mean to vote for. So I think that's really, really important.
Great. Well, thanks so much for being with us.
Yeah, thank you very much.